Hi, it's Alexa here with Kelowna Now, and I'm getting to sit down again. So excited to have you back in studio, Amanda. She is the executive director for BrainTrust, and she was just telling me offline that she's had a crazy couple of weeks since we last connected. We're going to dive into that, but I do want to talk about the conference coming up on June 11th. Why is it so important? What can people expect? And why should people want to attend and support?
Yeah, so we are less than a month away, which is normally quite scary for me after several years of doing this event. But this year I'm just so excited. So as I've mentioned before, BrainTrust has always done an annual conference in partnership with Pusher Mitchell. We're very grateful for them because otherwise, putting on an event like this it's out of our reach as a charity. So we're bringing it back this year, and it's much more than a conference this year. It's very much an accumulation of the 2 years before. So I remember saying to my board when I stepped in that I really wanted to put a spotlight on the most vulnerable populations and the populations of people living with brain injury that are ignored and suffering the most disadvantaged. And so they gave me full permission and I shifted the focus. And so the first year we had it up at UBCO and it was, we talked about, the causes that community isn't used to hearing. So corrections, Indigenous issues, gender issues, substance use, and all of these things combined. And so that went off very well. But over the last few years, we have made these inroads with connections and sectors that were so important to me because brain injury does intersect with all systems, addictions, mental health, corrections. And so why not, bring in all of these sectors to have the conversation together at the same time, knowing that brain injury is, really at the forefront of all those things. So this year is, like I said, an accumulation of all of that. So we've got political members, we've got RCMP, we've got a large number of people from our local health authority and KGH, school district, other nonprofits, community members, lived experience. And everyone's coming and we're all going to come back together and learn. But the most exciting part for me is that we're so close to getting this national strategy passed this year, and we'll go into that in a minute. But so this year we've got our mayor coming, we've got Penticton mayor, we've got provincial politicians. We would have our federal supporters, but they're going to be in the House, so we'll let them do that job. But so it's really exciting. We've got city council members. And just a bunch of decision makers that, even just 3 years ago, didn't understand why brain injury was a topic and how it impacted our city.
Yeah, it has a big ripple effect.
Huge. Yeah. And so it's really cool to see that now, all these lights come on and to have people come.
Starting to align, like all your guys' hard work.
It's paying off this year.
Like just awareness. Yeah. Finally, people are listening, it seems.
Yes. Yeah, it's and our keynote, Dr. Angela Colantonio, she's the Canadian Research Chair on Traumatic Brain Injury. She's based out of Toronto, but she has been researching vulnerable populations in brain injury for many years. Her work basically is leading in Canada around gender issues, homelessness, incarceration. So she's coming in person and she's going to give a big overview of all of her research, but also provide the audience with some hands-on learning on how we can interact and support and identify. Yeah. Because the biggest goal here is that, and what we signed up for is that we can be, the voice for the Central and North Okanagan and the hundreds of people living with brain injury and create systemic change, but also fairness and, and finally let them have their audience and their stage, because they've been ignored
for too long,
for the history of time. Yeah. Right. So
you guys are still selling tickets though?
Yes.
Just because you're not, you don't think that you're a big leader, you have a big voice, can people still attend and
yes.
you know, if you just, or you know someone with a brain injury, or you want to learn more, or you want to just get involved, you can still buy tickets. So we're selling tickets.
Oh, yes. Yep. So, like, and this is kind of the way I pose it. Canada has recognized, and it's within the national strategy, that there is a lack of education.
Yeah.
So that's even for medical practitioners, pretty much any public serving entity, like there isn't specific brain injury education and research. So we brought that here. Like you won't find this sort of evidence and research and skills and information anywhere.
Yeah.
So we've brought it. It's a one-day event. And so if you think about 1 in 3 Canadians suffering from brain injury, that could be, you know, wanting to say your neighbor has a brain injury and you want to understand that a little more, or, you know, it could be anything.
Well, it's like in your family.
Yes.
You know, I'm a family of 5, and currently nobody suffers from brain injury, but I mean, every day something could happen.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And until we start talking about prevention and talking about the causes that, you know, especially the causes that aren't really, people don't associate with yet, like overdose.
Yeah.
And even, you know, heart attack. A lot of people, when I point that out, they're like, what? How does that work? And it's like, well, because you're lacking oxygen and blood flow to the brain. Your brain needs that.
Yeah.
Right? So it's, we all can relate to it. And I think the other thing I really want to stress too is that, yes, the ticket, like we charge for the tickets, but that money goes directly back to support services and will go to the individuals living with brain injury in Kelowna. We're not a franchise. We're a standalone charity, which means that money will actually improve the life of someone that you can physically touch.
Yeah.
Right?
In our community.
Yes.
Amazing. Before we jump into Bill C-277, I was reading over the page that you guys gave me a couple of weeks ago about all these different stats, and we don't have the time today, and we could, you know, go in individually on all of these. I think being a female, this one really stands out. I mean, if you look at this, a lot of it will stand out to an individual, but this one really bothers me that females having violent partners, and there's high stats on like 75% of women don't seek medical care or support, and this is kind of broad, but 35 to 80% of women are affected by these traumatic experiences. Like, how is this happening? Like,
it's really sad.
That's really scary.
Yeah, and actually, to put it another way, so there was a recent statistic that came out actually on the floor in Ottawa. It was during a press conference, and they were saying that for every NHL athlete that sustains concussion or injury on the ice, it's over 5,000 women sustain the same injury. So if you look at the amount of attention that an NHL athlete gets with that injury, and you look at, you know, what happens for the average woman, you can't even compare them. It's devastating.
Well, it kind of feels like it's swept under the rug and nobody's even talking about that.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things that go with it, right? So a lot of women are really afraid. So like if they go to the ER, so there's a lot of grooming that goes in with abuse, right? And there's a lot of loss that could potentially happen. They could lose their children. They could lose their ability to buy food, like their housing, all of these things. And then if they go into the hospital and say, you know, now, you know, I'm suffering from a concussion or a blow to the head, they're not going to say it was their husband who they're afraid of, who's sitting in the car, who could potentially take everything from them.
Or worse, they might end up dead.
Absolutely.
Yeah, some of these numbers, and like I said, we could get stuck in all of this, but like you said, drugs, brain injuries, abuse, it actually makes me sick to my stomach reading. And I don't think people are talking about this enough, and we're not doing enough. And BrainTrust needs support, and it is a ripple effect on all these things, and just the community, and would solve some of our big issues. So I think let's jump into what you were doing. So you weren't in Ottawa.
No, because when you get news on like when the debate's gonna hit, like it's going tomorrow and everyone has to jump in, and so we weren't able to go. But we were sent the link and we were able to watch it live, and it was without like, I mean, I'm still lost for words. It was the most historic moment that's ever happened in the field of brain injury ever. So the debate hit the floor. MP Alistair McGregor, the author of this bill, along with my dear colleague Janelle Breezy-Biagioni, who really wrote it and got it off the ground and hounded her her MP for, I think it was 7 years, she told me the other day.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because when you watch the House of Commons right now, everyone's fighting. Our country is really, really not well.
No.
And they're arguing, and there's so much debate in that house. But then the debate hit the floor, and every single party and party representative stood up and had a personal story. We had full party support.
So everyone
agreed.
Yeah.
And
That's
it was emotional
yeah.
because it's to see all of the dispute happening in our government, and then the next day they're talking as colleagues, and they're all sharing personal stories. Like one of the conservative guys was saying, he grew up with Rick Rippon, the NHL athlete there that had CTE and ended up committing suicide. It was very emotional for him because you can see because of all of this lobbying and advocacy we've been able to do as part of this delegation. When we were out there in the fall, we were still connecting dots, right? And people were like, how is that related? And how are these injuries? But now to watch them all to come together and emotionally say that this is needed in our country and that it is a major health gap, huge health gap, and that it is not, this job is way too big for any of the provinces to do alone. We need the federal government to step up and actually say that they will own this as a chronic, lifelong condition that has many implications, and then put a framework together. And the cool thing about the bill is that the federal government does have accountability built into it, so they will have to report back to the House and say, what they've been working on and such. So
held accountable.
Yes, they are, which is lovely. So this is huge. Like, I mean, it's something that I don't think any of us and the leaders before me, especially at BrainTrust, ever thought would happen. Because funding is so scarce and we have to fight for it, and it's competitive even amongst our own organizations, right? So it's time that we put the proper process in place because our people deserve that. So that's been my last couple of weeks.
So tell me, you guys, when did you find out? And then you're like, we have to share with the world.
It's been a journey, and we would need like 4 hours. But so like this process started 7 years ago, and so I was out in Ottawa with the delegation last, I guess, October, and that was extremely powerful. I met people from all across the country, and one of them, Shirley Wilson, who's become like one of my personal heroes. She'll be speaking at our conference. She'll be sharing her son's journey. So she's a mom. She's on the school district. She's a politician, and her son was hit by a truck.
Oh my gosh.
And then didn't receive the proper care, of course, and then started, and then I think he was diagnosed with mental illness after that, and then opioid use, and it was just this big thing. And the way she describes it is actually so powerful. And she says, the mental health and substance teams, the health authority said, he has a brain injury, I'm not touching him. And then the brain injury people, this is down in Vancouver, said, he's got too much mental health and substance use, we're not touching him.
Oh my goodness.
So she could not get, and this guy, they had privilege. Jacob had money to pay to go to a treatment facility. They would not take him because he was deemed, and this is a dirty word in our world, too complex.
Too complex.
So he passed away.
Oh my God.
So when we were in Ottawa.
How old was he?
23, 24. So when we were in Ottawa, it was like a year after. I spent a lot of time with her. So as a mother, it even still gives me chills.
I was looking at my arms.
Like, she stood up in Ottawa and in these press conferences, and she said, this is Jacob's story.
Oh, how do you keep it together?
You don't.
Telling people that story.
And I met with her last week.
She's coming to the conference.
She is coming. She's opening our conference with Jacob's story. And I told her just last week, I said, as a mother, there's two roads you can go when tragedy hits.
Yeah.
Right? You can give up and self-medicate or totally just be bitter with the system.
And numb, and you just keep kind of living, not life, but...
Right?
Yeah.
And I said to her, but then there's moms like you who show up in Ottawa.
Yeah.
And
we're going to save
yes.
other kids or other humans.
Absolutely. Yeah. And she's one of the most amazing people. So...
Wow, you just need to go to the conference to
yes,
see
you
her.
have to see her. You have to see, I mean, we've got this other doctor who's piloting this treatment, long stay treatment facility or program down at St. Paul's Hospital. It's for people that are too complex.
Yeah.
And
I hate that word.
It's a horrible word. We would love to get it but it's used a lot in our system. I hear it almost every day.
Wow.
And it does, it makes me angry. But so she's come in to talk about that. So basically the whole theme is like, you know, the issues, but we're bringing in the breakthrough solutions.
Yes.
And so I will really want everyone to walk away feeling hopeful.
Well, it seems like there's some light in the
There
darkness.
is. Yeah.
So this bill, if it's not fully passed yet. So if it's passed, what do you, like if you could, like crystal ball, what do you see? Like it's not going to happen overnight, but is there stuff that you can already, like you dream about that you can picture that how much change it will make?
Yeah, there's so much. And I think like just to kind of just paint a little bit of a picture, it's, you know, like when you're diagnosed with a brain injury, you sustain one, you'll be able to go into the hospital. Your medical team will know exactly what it is. You will get the proper diagnostic testing done. You will get proper rehab, long stay rehab. You won't be kicked out of any rehab facility. And then there will be housing that's specifically built for the people that can't live independently, that they can live and not fight for. There will be addiction services that'll be tailored for the needs of people with brain injury, because right now we fight. Other than the St. Paul's program, which I'm very excited about, treatment facilities won't take people with brain injury. So even if they wanted to get sober,
they can't.
They get kicked out the first week because they have short-term memory loss so their injury is used against them. So basically, there will be a system of care that's well-informed that you don't have to fight for and you don't have to search for. It'll show up for you, very similar to cancer care, right? Where you're wrapped around, you've got this system of professionals and doctors that are there. And that's my dream. And right now, most brain injury societies across Canada are operating off of less of $200,000 operating. Like that's their annual budget. That's not okay.
No. We
are filling a huge gap. And a number of politicians that I've met with over the last year have told me that, you know what, until, you know, charities tend to fill these gaps and then the federal government doesn't invest in it because they're like, well, it's doing the job for cheaper.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Yeah. Gosh, okay. Well, I'm picturing this crystal ball and so when do we find out, or how many more steps does it take? So basically in 5 weeks from the last one, so I think it's in June, the second hour of debate comes. So that'll be around the same. And June's Brain Injury Awareness Month, so it's a big month. And then right after our conference, we're going to the BC Consensus Building on brain injury, so it's a huge month. Then we'll find out about the debate. It'll happen, and then basically it's several weeks after that. So it'll land somewhere in October. I was going to say October. Yeah. We'll find out. Yeah. But again, these things happen, like Ottawa's really funny. They work on their own time. So it's like, boom, it's happening today. Yeah. or it's postponed. Yeah. So stay tuned. Okay. So I think we could continue and go on for a while. And there's so many questions I have spinning in my head. But I think we just want to come back to the conference. It's, BrainTrust Awareness Month in June. Brain Injury Awareness Month. But if you want to be aware of BrainTrust in June too, that would be great. And we've got our BrainTrust conference that sounds like it has amazing people attending. I'm really excited. It's on a Tuesday. It starts, I think it was a breakfast, and it kind of goes to 4. So that one's sold out, and that's a good thing is actually we are seeing our tickets sell at a rapid pace this year, which is great. We are still we need more sponsorship though. Okay. That's the thing, and we, a number of our sponsors, and I mean, times are hard, economics are hard, right? So that's the piece that is definitely we're a little bit more worried about. But all of that's on our website. Yeah.
whether you even just want to come volunteer, just any way of getting engaged and learning about and being an ambassador for this cause, we welcome.
Sharing the information.
Yeah.
Talking to people about
Write
it.
your MP.
Yeah.
And say that, like that you're in support of this bill. You can find the bill online. You just type in Bill 2C77 and you can find it. And even just a letter to your MP in support of it is helping our population. And
then, I mean, you can always go online and just donate. And like I said, you take donations from all, you have the big donors, the angel donations, but
we definitely need more. I feel like brain injury doesn't really get that.
Okay.
So I feel like
we'll find you an angel.
We don't, we're not puppies and we're not babies, but definitely serve a major percentage of Canadians, and it's invisible. So please remember that.
Yes.
Like, you don't know when somebody's really suffering.
And 1 in 3.
1 in 3.
In this room.
Yeah. Well, I've had a concussion, so I guess that's me.
Yeah. Okay, Amanda, well, thank you for your passion and fighting this hard fight, but I'm so happy to hear that in the darkness there's this light, and it will be exciting to get you back and even talking about the next couple of months.
Yeah, I know, right? Who knows what'll happen?
Because I feel like BrainTrust is, at least we can say, it sounds like we're going in the right direction.
Oh, yeah. I think that we're going where we always wanted to be, and it's just such a pleasure that I get to be here in this spot, because there's many people before me that had this dream, and so I'm very lucky to get to lead it through this change. So
it's amazing. Okay, well, thanks for watching.